Timer started. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to our lovely audience here, to our judge, to my partner, and my opponents. This is going to be a great debate. So the resolution is that this House should raise the minimum wage. And so we'll start with Observation 1, Resolutional Analysis. Subpoint A, the government reserves the right to define this as a policy debate. It's policy because should implies an action. And we're going to use that action through policy. Subpoint B, we're going to define this House as Congress, federal Congress of the United States. Subpoint C, our plan. So we're going to have Congress pass a bill to mandate that the baseline minimum wage becomes $10 an hour, private and public. We had Obama, for some context, a few months ago in this year, sign an executive order to mandate that all federal employees are paid at least $10 an hour on the federal level for federal employees. And so that was kind of contentious because it was an executive order. And so we're just going to have Congress pass a bill that puts that at one flat rate for public, private, everyone, $10 an hour. And subpoint D, we're going to use net benefits as criterion for this debate. So again, so $10 an hour for public and private. So observation 2, Judge, you can tagline this living wage. Is our first advantage. Subpoint A, the status quo is too low. Currently, the lowest you can be paid in this country is $7.25, and this is according to a congressional bill passed quite a while ago for servers in restaurants. They can be paid lower if their tips match up to at least $7.25 an hour, and so that's the basis we're working with now. That's the status quo. Subpoint B, politicians are willing to change things in enough cases. There's certain cities that have advanced further than the 725, certain states that have advanced further. However, this creates some inequalities within the system, and so by passing our bill, making it 10-10 across the nation. Subpoint C, our plan, again, increases the wage 10-10, and so there's a couple impacts from this. We have people having healthier diets, increases the standard of living for these people because they're able to now afford things, whereas otherwise they weren't able to meet those ends before. Another point we should bring up is that in a lot of these cases, such as with McDonald's, who pay their employees typically the lowest, whatever minimum wage is for that area, they also help their employees get benefits, being welfare and certain other public assistance programs. And so by doing this, we're creating less incentive for companies to think as these welfare programs as payments for their people. We're increasing the amount of education because people can now afford more education. We're increasing the health because people can afford to pay for more of their health. Anything that people can pay for, we're increasing because we're increasing their ability to pay for it. Our observation 3, advantage 2, is saving money. Subpoint A, the states and the Fed spend a lot on welfare programs, like we said. Subpoint B, nothing is changing. We're only spending more. Welfare programs are exploding. There's a lot going on with this. Subpoint C is our plan. We're, again, increasing minimum wage 10-10. And I have some facts here from an article from Huffington Post that said if the U.S. unilaterally created a $10 an hour minimum wage across the country, it would save the federal government $7.6 billion a year. Now that's massive. What can we do with $7.6 billion a year? We can spend that on other programs potentially. We could throw that money back and create a budget surplus, reducing our debt. We can use that money for a whole lot of other programs that would be better off than being spent with money that employers should be paying their employees anyway. And so we're reducing the government burden on people here. And so overall, if you were to tie the minimum wage to the 1968 wage, the average wage that was paid to an employee in 1968, and to count for inflation and increase that throughout till the modern day, people would be making $18.42. And so you can see that our $7.25 we brought up earlier is far below. It's less than half of what people would be making had it been had the wage been tied to how much the value of money has been decreasing. And so our plan is simply making this more fair. We're meeting the federal we're just basically that we're helping to get back up to what they should be had their money not degraded in value. And so our observation 4, our third advantage, Judge, you could tagline this equality. Our A subpoint is that for the past 54 months, the private sector has gained 10.10 million jobs. Now, this is huge. At the same time, the public sector has lost more than 500,000 jobs in the exact same time. Our subpoint B here is that this creates an incentive for people to go into the private sector, which is growing, instead of going into the public sector, which is losing jobs, like no other. And so our C point is that by allowing by increasing the minimum wage across the public and private sectors, we're completely getting rid of the financial incentive to go into either the private sector or the public sector. And so an impact of this is that people are able to choose what field they want to go into, whether or not it's a public sector job or a private sector job, because we're taking the financial incentive out of this. At the minimum, they can be making $10.10 in either category, a public sector job or a private sector job. And so this creates a better sense of equality for the types of work that are done between public and private sector jobs that share a lot of the same qualities. And we're allowing Americans to work wherever they work best. And so for all the aforementioned reasons of why Congress will mandate that the baseline minimum wage becomes $10.10 an hour across the nation, public and private, again, we're going to do this through normal means. We're going to do this, we're going to fiat that Congress just does this just to clarify some things. And so for those reasons, please vote for F. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off case, and then I'm going to go to their on case. All right. Is everybody ready? Yeah. Okay. Yeah? Yeah, Judge? Sweet. All right.
Judges.
Judges. All right. All right. I'd like to thank everyone who showed up in our debate today. I'd like to thank my partner for giving me the support he needs. I'd like to thank my opponents for so far giving me some pretty compelling arguments. Okay, so now let's get started with my disadvantage. My first disadvantage would be unemployment. According to PewResearch.org, 3.5 million workers who get paid in minimum wage. The uniqueness is that 3.5 million workers who are getting paid in minimum wage. The link is that their plan increases minimum wage. The internal link is that businesses have to let go of a lot of people. For example, companies like Target and Walmart are letting go of a lot of people, and it's going to be bad for both the consumer and the employees. The impact to this is that there are going to be longer lines for consumers. There's going to be less help for them due to the fact that they're letting go a lot of people because of increase of minimum wage. They fail to realize that if you increase minimum wage, that you're going to have to force to let go of a lot of people, because when you have lower minimum wage, you're able to afford to take care of a lot more people than you already do. So by doing this, there are going to be a lot of consumers, and many of them are going to need help finding their way around, and they're going to have questions about certain items that they're being carried around, and there's going to be a lot less help because of this. And a second impact is there's going to be more people on welfare. It puts a huge strain on public services. There's going to be raised taxes and other benefit cuts where they are also needed, and which are already struggling as it is. And my second disadvantage is the prices will go up. The uniqueness right now is that there are low-income consumers who go to companies like Walmart or Target to buy affordable goods. And some consumers can still go to their small businesses because they can afford a little increase. There are those consumers who can go to like these local stores where they can still afford these goods because they're very usable and very high quality stuff. And the link here is that they're increasing minimum wage. The internal link is that lower income consumers will be forced to purchase at a corporation. The impact here, the first one would be that the low income people still have to wait wait longer. They still have to wait longer lines, like which I'm connecting back to my first disadvantage. And now they are forced to purchase higher priced goods. And since the fact that we're going to have more people who are, and the second impact here is that smaller businesses like mom and pop shops will go out of business. They they um they with this kind of with this kind of change in our economy, then they're going to be struggling so much more, and they are going to be forced to shut down. And going back to my first impact, since people are now forced to purchase higher price goods, they're gonna be struggling a lot more. They're not gonna be able to afford to take care of their family anymore. They're gonna be forced to go to welfare, and if we're gonna have more people going into welfare, it's going to increase the already existing problems that we have now. And then I'm gonna go on case. So my all right. So my opponent here brought up an argument involving. Okay, they mentioned something about restaurants having low pay, that they're not making enough money. But again, they're making plenty of money by from tips that a lot of people are giving to them after they're done eating. And what's your question?
Where did I mention explicitly that I said that restaurants weren't making enough money?
Or no, I meant I didn't word that correctly. I meant the employees who are working for that restaurant. They're only making minimum wage. So but like I said, they I forgot the word already.
You can kind of say some words and
You just mentioned that some restaurant employees are getting paid below $7.25 since they're being tipped at a high rate, which makes them make more money than the minimum wage, which then they would eventually make more money than minimum wage, but they are still getting paid minimum wage, is what you mentioned, or less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because the status quo is too low. That's what you said.
And you also mentioned that the impact is that they're going to live healthier lives, that they're going to have medical benefits, welfare, they're going to be able to afford welfare. Yes, that's going to affect the people who are actually keeping their jobs. But for those who aren't, it's going to be tough luck for them because there's a chance that it's going to increase for them as well. And more of an increase in welfare and for health payments, then they're just gonna be struggling that much more. And since since we're gonna have more people under welfare, it's gonna put a huge strain on our government. And observation 3 is that it will save money. Okay, but in no way this is going to save money for the people who are forced to pay extra money, and for those who are unemployed. It's just gonna make them struggle that much more. And what we want is we don't want them to struggle anymore. The increase of minimum wage is just gonna cause a huge strain in their living, and we're here to try to prevent that, not make it worse. And And observation 4, you said that there's going to be some more equality to this, and I don't really see how this is going to be having equality due to the fact that there's going to be a higher unemployment rate. There's going to be people who are going to be unable to have some sort of income so that they can take care of themselves and their family. This is going to increase. This is going to increase the amount of people who are unable to work anymore. They're gonna be continuously struggling, and it's just gonna feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And okay, so I'm gonna go over my arguments. I mentioned that the unemployment rate is gonna increase that much more. It's going to make it tougher for a lot of people who rely on their jobs to take care of their families. And the link here is that they're going to increase minimum wage, And like I said, the internal link is they're going to let go of a lot of people, which is something that we really want to try to avoid. The impact to this is they're like consumers are no longer going to have the help that they need from people who are from companies that are lacking employees to help out. And
Is it time?
no, that wasn't time. That was my grandma calling. And then my DA2 is the price will go up, and since people are going to be unemployed, they're going to have to struggle with like higher prices, which is going to be much more of a burden to them. These are our voters. Thank you for giving me your time to argue, and have a nice day.
You hung up on your grandma? That's the commitment I like to see.
Apparently that's his voter for you.
Spencer's like, all right, I already know who I'm voting for.
Stephan now showed me that he's dedicated to the team. And Christian kicked me out of prep.
I don't know if it was Christian kicked out. Was it me? I'm just gonna blame him. Okay.
You know, great. That's great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay, so what just happened during the middle of all that, where I was able to say something?
Okay.
Is it just like a
That
quick
wouldn't
little?
happen.
Okay.
So what that is?
I felt weird saying something. I'm just
It can
okay, now
happen,
it's getting
but
weird. And I'm just ranting on. And,
So
I should stop.
it was a little weird. So like, good thing you stopped when you did. What that's called is a point of information, which is like you're allowed and actually encouraged to ask the other team questions while they're speaking. So you raise your hand, wait for them to acknowledge you. Once they do, you ask a question. So that was, I think, what they did right there. So when I say like you can say like little things, I meant you could say like something to Stephan to then make Stephan say it in response.
Yeah.
But like you don't want to be interacting with their point of information that they asked to Stephan necessarily.
Yeah.
But I mean that was all fine.
Yeah, that happened to me at the tournament at least. Where
I've had a person in the tournament, it was just them talking in their partner's place. The judge didn't. It's just that when you talk to the judge, when it's your partner's turn, they ignore it until your partner says it.
All right, Veronica.
Que lástima. Sí, se fue.
Other way?
top left.
Yeah.
You have 8 minutes.
Quick question though, before
Yeah.
I even begin. If I can't fill in the 8 minutes,
You're fine. You're fine. It's your first opinion.
Yes.
Most people don't.
Right.
yeah, I don't
So, whenever you're ready.
judges. First, if our plan is better than our status quo. If our plan is better than our status quo, we win. No counter plan arguing with the status quo. Then if then our plan is better. We have our net benefits are better. We have
You could skip the formality and just go straight to the point if you want.
Just say what.
okay. I'll spend the money on the jobs program. Our benefits increases standard living for those with jobs and on welfare. Welfare is still available. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you state the on case, like what your partner said?
No. I didn't.
So you could do that, and then you go back to the on case and fight what they said.
Just trust yourself. You're doing well.
I have them right here, but I can't just.
That's happened to me so many times in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I see this, and I'm like, I know what you're going through.
These are reasons why time is better. Better standard of living, healthy people. We save money for government, and it is fair for all.
So go to their on case now. They have.
They're off.
Do you remember what they said? Do you have your notes on that?
Yeah.
Say what they say and say why they're wrong. And then you could BS that part.
So yes,
You could
basically.
BS why they're wrong.
Okay. Still have welfare for the unemployed. Like my opponents have said, apparently unemployment rate is higher. I'm sorry.
So just read. I just want you to read exactly what they said. Like go each of their points, and if you at least state them.
Just state what I said and tell me that I'm wrong.
Okay. I think you're wrong on unemployment raises. Unemployment will rise due to the fact that.
You don't have to go ahead. Just tell me his reasons that he said, and then go back to them.
Okay. My opponents have stated that unemployment will rise higher. Companies will let go of people, increasing families, increasing welfare. Consumers not getting what they need. Prices going up.
And was that all he said? If you don't remember the rest, just go back to the first one about their first point and go to each one and say, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with this. If you can't BS it, just say go to the next one and say, I don't agree with this. If you can, say something.
I don't agree with unemployment rising. I don't agree with companies letting go of people. I don't agree with consumers not getting what they want. They will still get what they want no matter what.
That's good. Go to the next one.
Yeah, you're doing good.
I do not believe that companies will purposely raise prices because they will lose their consumers.
That's great.
I think everybody would be much better and living a much more productive life, and with a raise of minimum wage, it's a better quality of life for everyone. forces keep prices down.
All right.
Nice. Yes, I'll be fine. I won't forget. I am in class. I'm gonna leave soon. Don't worry. Bye.
It's okay, Veronica. We just want you up there
Ooh, that's
talking
so close.
because
My
when we do
grandma.
this tomorrow, you practice.
Looks like you're not
going
committed
to-
anymore.
you're
less
more
committed than
information,
I
I
thought.
was
and you'll feel
speaking.
more comfortable talking to
Calm
us
myself.
and actually just talking to that camera.
Doesn't matter. Every second of every day, you better be focused.
Can you just draw a mustache on you?
Top it, Monaco.
There you go.
Yes. I'm internalizing the cold and making it hot. It's called my inner chakra.
Whoa.
All right, Robert, you got 8 minutes.
My head. What was it?
Oh, someone's been.
Oh, when you go up and speak, you're not allowed to have a pen with
weapon?
you.
You
it's
have all the
considered a
weapons
weapon.
you want.
There's no
Sorry,
pen.
I didn't know.
Because they will just say it's a weapon.
He's like, you disagree with me? I'll throw this pen at you.
He has the right to open carry, but he can't.
He's like, someone tries to do it. Point of interest. No.
Okay.
You can do.
Do you still need that extra
Okay.
second? Okay. Okay, so first of all, thank you, judges, for taking the time out of your day to listen to my first debate. My partners are our counterparts, Christian and Veronica, and my partner, Stephan.
Good job.
All right. So first of all, I will start off with our on case.
Their argument was on case. Your guys is off case.
Because I'm the government. My case is
Okay, so off case. There we go.
Okay.
So first of all, the first DA, how we would have our unemployment would rise because when small shops will be forced to let go of their employers because they will not be able to afford the rise in the minimum wage due to the fact that they don't get as much as business as bigger corporations, and even then bigger corporations might still do the same because they will also be forced to pay their employers more, and as we know, bigger corporations would like to save money.
Do you have an example of when a company or when minimum wage increases, companies laying off people?
Yes, for example, recently in Target, they had to raise the prices of the healthcare system, I believe, and since they had to spend more money, they had to let go of more of their employers.
But that was for healthcare.
They're still spending more money, using more money towards the employees.
He's a newbie.
Okay.
Good answer. Good
He's
answer.
gonna throw a pen at you.
I just, you gave me no mercy.
No mercy. Don't scare him off. Alright, go ahead.
So then the link would still be to increase the minimum, or they would still increase the minimum wage. As for the internal link, the other one, the second one. Again, the businesses will have to let go of people. As to where it impacts, it's not going to help big corporations. For example, when people already go to a Target or a Walmart, for example, they still have to wait in line, and you still see people fuss about having to wait in line as to why they have so many registers, yet they are upset that only 2 or 3 registers are being utilized. Second would be unemployment. There'd be no work. Basically, the people that are let go, that laid off, they will have to go ahead and start over and look for a new job. And at some points, it's not as easy as it seems. And more people go on welfare, which basically it won't help anyone in general because it raises taxes and there goes more money that comes out of your paycheck from your minimum wage raise, and it will also go ahead and cut other programs like Mothers for Benefits or education. The second DA is the prices will rise. For example, I have a personal example when I went to go get my haircut on Monday. I went to go pay the $18 that I thought it was originally going to be. But the person told me it's now $21 because prices are going up due to rising minimum wage. And I said, is this true? She said, yes. This is why you are paying more now. So I said, okay, I still need my haircut. You already cut my hair. Now, if the minimum wage does go up, then how I mentioned before that these mom and pop shops will be forced to let go of their employers, that will only increase their prices to how they're already higher than the big corporations, but it's more of a convenience to shop at a mom and pop shop than go to a Walmart, for example. And people who have, well, once the minimum wage is raised, you'll be forced to shop at those shops because you want to spend less money instead of spending more money once the mom and pop shops raise their prices. So I guess as to where you would be able to save more money, I'm not sure exactly how that would be able to happen since you will be taxed more to help pay for those other programs such as welfare. And I'm done.
Nice.
So this is the rebuttal, right?
Yep. The rebuttal.
Okay.
All right. So you good? Okay. So I'd like to go over some of my voters here. On my first disadvantage, I talked about unemployment. That 3.5 million workers who get paid in minimum wage is the uniqueness, and the link is that the plan increases minimum wage. The internal link is that businesses have to let go of a lot of people, and that's really not a good thing because these people are in desperate need of it. And the internal link is that, and an example of that would be that companies like Target and Walmart are letting go of a lot of people, and it's going to be bad for the economy. Or, I'm sorry, not the economy. It'll be bad for the consumers and the employees, excuse me. And the first impact I mentioned that there are going to be longer lines for consumers, and there's going to be less help for them. So we're going to have many consumers, and I've seen it myself. There are going to be consumers who walk around a convenience store or a store, and they're going to ask help about certain products. But unfortunately for them, there's going to be less help from these stores because there's going to be less help for them because there are going to be a huge decrease in employees. And the second impact is that the unemployment, there's going to be no work, and there's going to be no way of taking care of their family. I mean, that's for majority of Americans in this country. That's our number one goal, is to take care of our families. And if you take that away from them, then you're taking away their living and their happiness, essentially. And the third impact is that more people are going to be on welfare. Going back to the second impact is that, again, you're going to take away their happiness and their chance to find find a way to make a living. And it puts a huge strain on public services. So it's gonna strain the government by trying to help as many people as possible. And since there are so many people who are going to be in welfare, they're gonna have to they're going to be spread way too thin, and it's going to raise taxes and other and benefits will be cut. So there are other things out there that are required that need benefits, and if we're gonna have too many people unemployed, then it's gonna spread all of these too thin as well, and it's going to cause a huge problem and a huge impact in our government and economy. And I talked about our second DA, which would be that the prices will go up. This is our second voter, by the way. And the uniqueness is that right now there are low-income consumers who go to companies like Walmart or Target to buy affordable goods. And some consumers can still go to their small businesses because they can afford a little increase. So these places may like be a little more pricier, but it's just a little bit more. They provide like better goods for consumers to buy. Like they have better quality stuff basically. And the link here is they're gonna increase minimum wage. That's the government's plan here. And the internal link is that lower income consumers will be forced to purchase at a corporation. And the impact to this is that low income people still have to wait long, going back to the first DA impact. And again, since they're going to be lack of employees, they're not going to be able to have the help that they need. And now and not only that, they are forced to purchase higher priced goods. For those people who go to these local stores to have better quality stuff, now that there's going to be an increase in minimum wage, they're going to be forced to pay higher prices for these goods. And smaller businesses like mom and pop shops will go out of business. And for these voters, this is why you should vote for the opposition. Thank you.
That was 3 voters?
That was 2 voters.
Okay, that's that.
Oh no, I
5.
specifically
If
said.
she asked you if that was 3 voters and you only had 2,
Say.
yes,
Wait a
3
second,
voters.
that was 3 voters.
It's too late. Like I wasn't sure because
Okay.
like the mom and pop thing was like a 2 separate
Just
area.
say yes to 3.
Okay.
Should have said yes. I'm putting it as a no.
All right, everyone. This debate's coming to a close. Let's wrap it up and talk about this stuff. Thank you again to everyone for letting this happen. Now, my opponents, I counted 4 voters. They say 2. I'll give them the 4. However, they're going to all be turned to me. So, voter number 1 for them was that by increasing minimum wage, we're decreasing the amount of jobs. Our plan is, and that this is bad for consumers. We're lowering the amount of people employed, and then taking away happiness also lumped into that. And it's a strain on the public welfare system. It's going to increase taxes. I have a few responses to this, and so to turn that, I'll say that they had absolutely no data besides that 3.5 million people number. They had no data to substantiate any of these claims. And so I guess our voter number 1 for this would be that judges, you should vote for us because we have more data, we have more substantiated claims to make about this. And with our voter number 2, we can compare our plan versus their lack of a counter plan. By not having a counter plan, like my partner eloquently put, they're arguing for the status quo. And because we had a net benefits criterion for this debate, you should vote for the plan that will have the best net benefits for all the reasons we had. They didn't have a plan. They're arguing for the status quo. They get all the disadvantages that are associated with the status quo. We, on the other hand, gain things and reduce the impacts of these damages. And so our plan is a better plan. And then voter number 3, they said the waiting in line part, how consumers are going to have to pay more. Again, waiting in line versus quality of life is our 3rd voter. And by this I mean, what has the better net beneficial impact? Came out strange. Consumers waiting a few more minutes in line to get their goods, or knowing that the people they're giving their money to have actually a fair wage. They're not slaves to the welfare system, that they're able to have a job that gives them meaning. And again, I believe that the net benefit of this is that consumers are willing to pay more if the quality of life for all employees increases, instead of just a few consumers complaining about slightly longer wait times. Voter number 4, we're not getting rid of welfare. Our opponent said that more people are going to go on welfare. Perhaps. However, we now have a system in place that deals with this. There's times the economy fluxes. People go on welfare all the time. And so it's really not unique. Voter number 5 is that we gain an additional $7.6 billion a year to the federal budget. What can we do with that money? I mentioned a few other ways we can invest in perhaps a jobs program. I mentioned how that $7.6 billion can put into a budget surplus, or it could be spent on helping these people who are now on welfare, as they would say would happen, even if they don't. Again, $7.6 billion is a huge amount of money to gain just from one action. And so that's a huge benefit. Our 6th voter is equality. They didn't really touch on this, how by allowing both the private and public sector to start at the same level, we're completely eliminating the incentive to go on either just on financial reasons alone. So you can flow all the benefits we have from that. They didn't really touch on it. And again, for the equality, we're allowing people to choose their own path. And so we're also increasing freedom in the same way. Freedom to work where you want and to not worry about the system you're in to get money from that. And so they had another voter for how prices would increase and how poor people are going to be forced to use corporations. That's not unique. They're already forced to use corporations. So the poorest people shop typically at Walmart, Target. We all know this. These are just things that we observe. And so by holding to the status quo, sure, they're limiting people to that, but we're also allowing those people to work at these low-income facilities such as Walmart to pay their employees a fair wage. And for all these reasons, Judge, we looked at the net benefits of all these things. Our plan is much better for people, for the American populace as a whole, for the federal government's budget, for employees, for employers, for everyone. And so that is why you will vote for our case. Thank you.
I already know who I'm voting for.